No longer do you have to feel hunted, stalked, or assaulted. ArtisticMinistry.net is pleased to present a program for victims of gang stalking. We'll provide info on websites, books, articles, YouTube channels, and podcasts to help you understand what you're dealing with and how and where to get help. Arm yourself with knowledge.
Shalom and welcome to Arm Yourselves with Knowledge, an information and resources program for targeted individuals. If you're new to this program or have only just recently learned about gang stalking, please be sure and check out part 1 of our premiere episode called Some of the Protocols of Gang Stalking. ArtisticMinistry.net is dedicated to providing information, inspiration, and support for TIs. Arm Yourselves with Knowledge is an information and resources program designed to help TIs deal with their struggle and to also provide reviews on websites, YouTube channels, books, and even movie reviews on what's available. In this episode, we'll review TI Paladin's work, Advice for the Targeted Individual and Gang Stalking Victim. You can find previous episodes on our YouTube channel, ArtisticMinistry.net, and on the webpage, Arm Yourselves with Knowledge, here on the ministry website. If you find our content helpful and supportive, please be sure and share it with other targeted individuals, and as always, leave us a comment, hit the like button, and be sure and subscribe for more episodes and other insightful, intriguing content. The Messiah prophesied that there is nothing that shall not be revealed. This includes the protocols of gang stalking or targeting, meaning the tactics they use to intimidate, harass, and isolate TIs. For centuries, they have been able to work practically undetected within communities and even families, subjecting their victims to attacks and violations that have reduced many to insanity, isolation, alcoholism, drug addiction, and even suicide. Now, in these last days of this war not of flesh and blood, and in keeping with Master Yahushua's prophecy, many victims are finding the strength, wherewithal, and ability to document their ordeals. More and more people are listening to them. As a result, there is a growing pool of information on this social phenomenon. Some of it is very supportive and insightful, but unfortunately, there's some that are based on skepticism and outright insensitive content makers. Arm Yourselves with Knowledge is sharing the information and also reviewing or critiquing those resources, whereby TIs can know what's worthwhile and what to avoid. We've developed a point system for book reviews to determine their validity in confronting and even thwarting gang stalking. Here's how it's broken down. There are 4 categories that are used to review or critique a book, and the highest or maximum number of points for 3 of the 4 categories is 20 points. The first 3 categories are affordability and accessibility, author's knowledge, understanding of the subject matter, provides worthwhile information and or resources, sensitivity towards a population in the TI community, meaning those TIs with physical disabilities, immigration status, etc. And that's worth 40 points. So the maximum number of points that a book can receive is 100. That means it is a perfect read for targeted individuals. Also, that ArtisticMinistry.net gives that work its heartfelt endorsement and approval as a sturdy weapon in our arsenal in this war not of flesh and blood. Paladin's work, Advice for the Targeted Individual and Gang Stalking Victim, is a short read, only 52 pages long, and has a few blank pages in the back that are excellent for note-taking. The chapters are short and divided into comfortable sections. The book's chapters and section titles are bold-faced typed, and the font is large and clear, allowing for a comfortable read. It is also small enough to fit easily inside a backpack or a purse. Paladin's book is affordable and available in various formats. At the time we purchased our copy, it was available as a Kindle ebook for $3.49 and in print for $6.99. We purchased ours from the Amazon website, but it is also available through Abe's Books, Barnes & Noble's, Google's Books, Kobo, to name a few. The price for a single book on all of those sites was under $10, ranging from $7.86 to $6.89. In the category Affordability and Accessibility, we give Paladin's work the full 20 points. It becomes clear from the very beginning of the book that the author is a targeted individual, and sharing this experience was the intent. Quote, I simply strove to tell my story and relate my observations and advice in the most straightforward and easy-to-read manner I could. What follows is an eyebrow-raising account of gang-stalking witch-stalking that might truly test the boundaries of believability for any reader not familiar with what is commonly referred to as the supernatural. The author shares several accounts that occurred while working for 25 years in social services in California, specifically north of the San Francisco Bay Area. Like many TIs, Paladin was, at first, not even aware of being targeted. A coworker, mentioned only as Barbara, made her aware of scandalous activities connected to their job. Quote, how did I become aware of this? I think it was a twofold process. First, I had a coworker, codenamed Barbara, who confided in me that she was with a group tracking monarchs. I didn't know what she meant, and she was the first to explain to me the reality of the Monarch and MK Ultra programs. She asked me what I had observed about our co-workers and the company, and she asked me to be aware. It seemed far-fetched to me at the time, and I wondered if she were a little crazy. One day, I came to work, and instead of Barbara being there, a grandmotherly co-worker was there in her place. She cheerfully told me that Barbara had disappeared, that no one had seen her or heard from her. Then she cheerfully asked me if I would be capable of killing someone. I said no, not unless it was in extreme self-defense. She looked me straight in the eye and cheerfully said I could. I was instantly on guard, but still not sure what was going on. I already had some knowledge from Barbara and had done some research on the internet and was pretty sure, at best, making reports would fall on deaf ears in this county, and worst, I would become a target, as law enforcement and social services in this area seemed to be a part of this cult. Plus, I had no evidence of foul play. I just doubled my efforts to find a new way to support myself. From that point on, Paladin becomes aware of the witch stalking and describes in clear, concise language about discovering the EMF electromagnetic frequencies that were being used against the workers in the residential facility. The author went so far as to purchase a Gauss meter, which was used to measure them. It was, in Paladin's own words, quote, my red pill moment. The staff's quarters were being flooded with EMF frequencies. Paladin writes of having strange or paranormal dreams whenever she stayed the night, some of which centered around being watched. Also, that some of the schizophrenics in the facility would actually comment on the dreams. They referenced her as being a naughty girl, and that she had discovered something she wasn't supposed to know about. She had conducted the readings behind closed doors and at night. Many of them spoke of having implants, which she was able to confirm by touch. Paladin deduced that it was via the implants and the EM frequencies that they were able to spy on her. She also purchased an RF, or radio frequency meter, to track satellite frequencies, and discovered they were being beamed from the sky into the wall above the staff bed. As with the experience of tracking the EM frequencies, the next morning, the same two supposedly schizophrenic residents confronted and warned her about finding out something she was not supposed to know. She writes of coworkers participating in her stalking, of learning that many of them had medical and psychiatric credentials that didn't exist, and how many of them, often when they were behaving immorally, arrogant, etc., would smell of sulfur. Paladin writes of dealing with orchestrated tax and financial problems, that she began to track EM frequencies in her home, and that the dreams and nightmares started occurring at home as well. Dreams of being attacked, of coworkers attempting to give her illnesses. At one point, Paladin shares a hair-raising experience of barely surviving a car accident when she attempted to leave the Bay Area. Paladin writes first-hand accounts of witnessing demonic manifestations via various mentally ill residents, and demons using them as what she calls puppets. Quote, I am not crazy. I was not hallucinating, but in the right place at the right time, in an environment with an extreme amount of electromagnetic energy, apparently facilitating the near manifestation of these interdimensional beings. This is not a new phenomenon, but had been occurring throughout history. What we perceived to be aliens from another planet, our ancestors perceived as fallen angels, the ancient gods, demons, devils, fairies, and the like. My conclusion: not every human body on this planet houses a human soul. Some have been opened to possession through SRA, satanic ritual abuse. Others have opened themselves up and invited in the demonic and alien through a desire for power. Some human souls coexist within their own bodies as slaves. Others have left long ago, and the body is simply a biosuit for a spirit which is not human. In the category Author's Knowledge, Understanding of Subject Matter, we give Paladin's work the full 20 points. As horrifying as her experience was, Paladin is an empowered individual, not just a targeted individual. She offers practical, constructive, and spiritually sound advice for confronting gang-stalking, witch-stalking. She provides the titles and authors of books dealing with the supernatural, MK Ultra, and demonic manifestations, such as Fritz Springmeier and Russ Dizdar. Paladin encourages her readers to use EMF and RF meters, pointing out that they can be purchased from Amazon, and to use them to check for those frequencies in and around the home. She includes a list of mainstream movies that deal either openly or symbolically with these themes. Some of them are They Live, directed by John Carpenter, Fallen, with the actor Denzel Washington, Avatar, Star Trek Nemesis, The Manchurian Candidate, also with Denzel Washington. Paladin offers a list of insightful books on these topics, some of which are The Black Awakening by Russ Dizdar, Majestic by Whitley Strieber, People of the Lie by M. Scott Peck, The Love Bite, Alien Interference in Human Love Relationships by Eve Lorgan, and Final Events, Demonic UFOs and the Afterlife by Nick Redfern. Perhaps due to her years of working with mentally compromised individuals, there is a voice of sympathy for fellow gang-stalking, witch-stalking victims that have been severely compromised by unknown connections to government or cultic organizations. One of the chapters, entitled Now a Difficult Question, is unique and insightful in that it is basically several pages of probing questions for victims of gang-stalking to ask themselves in order to determine the source of their targeting. The tone of the chapter is supportive and sincere. For example, quote, MK Ultra mind control and super soldier programs splits its victims into multiple personalities. Could it be that another personality engaged in some forgotten activity which dirtied your clothes and left bruises? If you have implants, how did they get there, and for what purpose? Do you really think the government wants to waste a lot of time and money just to torment you? Why? Or is it to control you in some way? If so, by who and why? If your family background includes incest and pedophilia, mafias and gangs, religious cults, family involvement with intelligence agencies or military projects, or outright Luciferianism or Satanism, the you, aware that something is wrong, might be your human soul crying out for help, and your gang stalkers might be members of a cult you never realized you had been involved with. They may not be gang-stalking you because of some weird government experiment, but because there is a part of you they cannot control like a robot, and these individuals are control freaks who hate the human soul. In the category Provides Worthwhile Information and or Resources, Paladin's work receives the full 20 points. The final category for book reviews is Sensitivity Towards a Population in the TI Community. Paladin's sympathy, empathy, and sensitivity for victims of satanic ritual abuse and witchcraft is respectful and comes from a place of knowledge and experience. She became aware of the fact that many of the supposedly mentally ill patients she dealt with as a social worker were actually victims of SRA, and several of them were under demonic control and or outright demonic possession. She shares several accounts of residents who spoke of experiences that, to the uninformed, would come across as crazy or psychotic nonsense. Yet Paladin was aware that they were speaking of ritualistic torture and experiences while under the control of demons. Many of these patients and their workers were her witch stalkers. Witch-stalking is an area of targeting that either does not get a lot of attention in discussion about gang-stalking, or the witchcraft component, even the term itself, is excluded. Focus is given to radio EM frequencies, direct energy beam weapons, implants, etc. It's almost as if a technological perspective is preferred than a supernatural perspective, perhaps because it's more tangible and therefore easier to prove. When Paladin writes of discovering the EM frequencies finally being directed at her home, she makes an interesting discovery. Quote, "The psychic attacks unexpectedly began to creep into my new home. I got out my Gauss meter and, to my dismay, discovered a beam of EMF emanating through the door of a garage workshop on the property, straight to my trailer. Of course, the property had a smart meter. The door to this building was always locked, but one day someone left it open. There was nothing inside, no equipment, but on the back of the door, someone had spray-painted sigils, magical symbols, including an eye and a pyramid. It seemed that the EMF was being amplified via the smart meter through underground electrical wires and flowing through a door painted with occult symbols. Was that amplifying the black magic attacks against me? Did the symbols represent a spell, and was the EMF amplifying that?" Along with sharing practical physical ways to deflect or avoid EM and RF frequencies, Paladin's advice is what Messianics call spiritual warfare. Her sensitivity and respect for non-religious TIs is apparent, as she often apologizes for using spiritual religious terms. However, she does not downplay or minimize the potency of the weapons she encourages her readers to employ. On the first page of the chapter What to Do About It, spiritual weapons are the first things mentioned. She is astute and tuned into spiritual warfare and combating demonic attacks, going so far as to mention two powerful weapons that Messianic TIs consider tantamount to thwarting satanic attacks: prayer and avoiding sin. Also, being respectful and sensitive to non-religious TIs, she offers an apology, stating, "If you have an anti-religion prejudice against the word sin, I apologize, but I don't know a better word, and it pretty much describes what they are trying to get you to do. You must clear your life, mind, and spirit of anything perverse or addictive." That the author is aware of the ages-long war not of flesh and blood is obvious. Her sensitivity to the atheist TI and theist TI is well balanced. She provides scriptural references to support her advice. Paladin is aware that the terminology determines the framework of one's perspective. Gray aliens and lizards for the atheist, demons and fallen angels for the theist. Her advice is being offered to all. Therefore, in the category sensitivity towards a population in the TI community, Paladin's work receives the full 40 points. In the efforts of providing healthy and constructive weapons to help victims of gang-stalking, witch-stalking, ArtisticMinistry.net gives TI Paladin's book, Advice for the Targeted Individual and Gang-stalking Victim, its heartfelt endorsement as weaponry in our armory of fighting this war not of flesh and blood. Hey everybody, this is Sapora Ibrahim, Editor-in-Chief for ArtisticMinistry.net, and thanks for checking out another episode of Arm Yourselves with Knowledge. I hope you found it as insightful and constructive as I did, and I encourage you to check out one of the sites mentioned in the review and purchase a copy. Just a reminder that if you have a book or know of a website, program, or YouTube channel that others might enjoy, leave it in one of the comment sections here on the website or below the video on our YouTube channel. As always, give this vid a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, just go ahead right now, click the subscribe button and the bell so you can be on top of new content when it's uploaded. If you want to bring awareness to gang stalking in your community or at work but aren't sure how, check out the t-shirts, postcards, coffee mugs, and other items in our online store at Zazzle.com. You'll definitely find a sticker or even a magnet for a conversation piece, so check it out. Shalom, everybody.